Thank you, Chairman Perlmutter and Ranking Member Cole for recognizing me to speak in support of Energy and Commerce Republican leader Kathy McMorris-Rogers' amendment to Division C of H.R. 8294. I'm a co-sponsor of this amendment, along with many of my colleagues on the Energy and Commerce Committee. Now, Chairman McGovern said just minutes ago that everyone was concerned about gas prices, and we are. I think both Democrats and Republicans across the country did not really appreciate seeing strategic petroleum reserve oil sold to China. This amendment is very simple. It prohibits the Department of Energy from sending America's emergency oil reserves to China. These are strategic petroleum reserve resources owned by the taxpayer, and they're there for certain circumstances and events. Because of President Biden's hostility to oil and gas, our domestic production and refining capacity has declined by more than 1 million barrels per day since President Biden took office. Energy prices have surged past historic records. People have been forced to pay more than $6 a gallon in many regions of the country. Now President Biden's looking for cover. He's looking to distract American voters from the painful realities of his anti-fossil fuel agenda by releasing an unprecedented 260 million barrels of oil from our SPR. Releasing oil from the SPR is not really doing anything to lower gas prices. It's a temporary blip. It is not the solution to the energy crisis Americans are facing today and that Chairman McGovern mentioned earlier. The oil is being released, more than 1 million barrels per day. It really has nowhere to go. Our refineries are full, our pipelines are full. As a result, America's emergency reserves are being sent to China, which is using it to build up its own strategic reserves. Using it to build up its own strategic reserves, an adversarial country. At the rate that President Biden's depleting our emergency reserves, we may not have anything left to respond to a true emergency. Hurricane season's here. Like if a hurricane strikes the Gulf of Mexico or a major pipeline goes down, how are we going to respond to that if we deplete these reserves? The irony is that when prices plummeted at the onset of COVID, President Trump's DOE wanted to buy oil and fill more of the SPR. Democrats, the same Democrats who are now tapping the SPR until there's nothing left, opposed filling it up. They claimed it was a sellout to big oil. It's pretty simple economics, though. You buy low and sell high. President Trump wanted to buy low-priced oil so the American taxpayer could have value in that resource. Now selling off our strategic stockpile will not lower gas prices, and it was used by our foreign adversaries like China to enhance their security at our expense. It threatens our national security. The solution to high gas prices is to reverse the anti-fossil fuel policies President Biden's imposed on the first day in office. We need to approve the Keystone Pipeline, Keystone XL Pipeline. It's a difference. Restart lease sales for oil and gas production on federal lands, roll back regulations that slow infrastructure permitting and discourage investments in fossil fuels. You know, one sidebar, an irony, is that by eliminating lease sales and leases, you're actually lowering the available resources that go into the Land and Water Conservation Fund that help us set aside property, green spaces across this country. Now they have less money because of the royalties have diminished. That was just a sidebar. We need to return to the energy dominance we had under the prior administration, bottom line. We need to increase production of oil and gas, increase refining capacity in America. President Biden wouldn't need to go to Saudi Arabia and beg MBS like he did last Friday to produce more if he unleashed the production here in the United States. And we've done it before. We were a net exporter of energy, net exporter of oil and gas, net exporter. We used what we produced, and then we had excess, we exported it. If he can travel to meet with the Saudis, he can certainly travel down to Port Fourchon or down to Houston, to Midland, Texas, and meet with U.S. oil and gas executives and say, hey, what can we do here in America to increase production? What do we need to do here in America to refill the SPR and not take oil out of it? What do we need to do here in America? Because fossil fuels are fossil fuels. You either beg the Saudis to increase oil or you beg American producers to increase oil. It's the same thing. It's oil. It's fossil fuels. It's kind of hypocritical. He can commit the oil and gas producers here in America to new leases, faster permits. He can end the regulatory war on pipelines. and the supply of capital. Bottom line is we need to stop draining the strategic petroleum reserve oil and hand our energy security over to China. So this amendment's simple. It would disallow any sales to China. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak on this amendment. I urge you to make it in order so it gets the opportunity for debate on the House floor. We can further this conversation. And with that, thank you. I yield back.